Hello, hello. It's Tuesday, January the 25th in the year 2022. This is Point of View with Shirley, Cleester, and Eula. And of course, today it's just Cleester and me, and we are going on in the name of the Lord. Eula, of course, she's out there taking care of those children. So we're glad that she's out there helping with those children. And she will be back when she can get back. And we love our cousin and we miss her. Those children.
Amen.
She's out there. that oh Lord, I look like I'm in a down in the valley somewhere. The way I'm sitting. Oh, I don't like that. Anyway, okay. Do I look okay, Reedy? Seems like I'm
Yeah.
down. Okay, we're going to do our prayer. Dear God, as we sit before you to speak, we pray to you that our soul you will keep. And if we should die before we finish, we pray to you, dear God, that any outstanding sins will be forgiven. And today we have some great topics, wonderful topics. Helping with those children. And mine is talking about the Voting Rights Act and so we're going to talk about that, and of course, racism plays all into that. And then, Clee, yours is.
I forgot the name of it again.
We'll be back. Okay, yours is
The
the
wage
race.
gap, American women, and racial gap,
Yeah,
wage gap.
wage gap. Yeah, that's it. I don't like my view. Let me do my camera. Do something to my camera right here. Okay, that should help me out. That it has to be right. Has to be right. Okay, the wage gap and the race gap.
Uh-huh.
Okay, these are look at us. We're on the same page almost, and so we have our banners here, and you can join us. That's our advertisement promotion, and you can join us on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1 p.m. And then those are our email addresses right there. So I am going to change this up just a little bit. Those are our email addresses. And then we will go back to the message. We'll take that off. So anyway, we're doing some more things here today. Rita,
Yes, ma'am.
okay, all right. I'm looking at you on YouTube. So YouTube is probably just 2 or 3 seconds behind me. So what you're seeing on YouTube, it comes out later on here. So we're going to
Oh,
go
okay.
on
Okay.
with our subjects, even though I'm looking at you right here on this, but I want to do this. Let me get this off of here. See how I get that off of here. Okay. Anyway, here we go. I just did the prayer. So what I'm going to do is sit back and I see part of my head. So as long as I see the whole meal on the TV, I'll be just fine. Did Sky call you and tell you he saw you on TV?
Oh.
Sky.
Uh-uh.
He called I think it was last Thursday or whenever we were talking about the systemic racism. And he watched the show that day, and he called and told me that he was watching about the racism show.
He is too
Yes, he
smart.
did.
He is too smart.
Yes, he had his input in there. But hello everyone. Thank you so much for being with us today. It's such a wonderful day, and like this day, it's sunny here in Dallas. It rained yesterday. Didn't have a like a pouring rain, but it rained enough, to let us hear the pop splatter. You know how it does when it comes. But anyway, we didn't get enough. I want us to have more rain, and some people think differently than me. So anyway, I like for it to rain and rain because, okay. Voting rights protections threatened by filibuster. And we know that it didn't pass, okay? And so what'd you say, Reedy?
I didn't say anything.
Oh, you shook your head. Oh, you might be
Uh-uh. I'm
shaking.
listening to you.
Okay. I'm getting off because I'm watching your TV.
You watching on TV.
the Voting Rights Act and the voting rights protection threatened by filibuster. So we know that it didn't pass. Okay, there are 52 senators that allow filibuster. They tried to put a limit on this filibuster. And you know, a filibuster, what they used to do with the filibuster is you talk for 24 hours straight, long enough to keep the vote from going forward, to stop a
Mm-hmm.
vote. And so some people have talked for like 24 hours straight. And one senator talked for 24 hours and so many minutes just to keep a bill from passing. So
Right.
that's what they used to do. But now they're getting a little more slicker and crooked with it, but they're in the open with it because they care not what we think or anything. They just do their little racist stuff and go on and do it just like they want to do it. And it's just a shame. It is a shame. It is a shame.
A
But let
shame.
me, yes. And so there is no shame because when that person came into play, the one that became the president after President Barack Obama, when he came into play, he just gave them permission to bring that racism back out. I mean, you know, it's never stopped. It's never stopped, but at least they
Mm-hmm.
did hide it sometimes. But then now it's all out now. I mean, it is alive and doing all the damage it can. So this is part of what it stems from because when Joe Biden and Kamala Harris ran, then the people got out and they voted so that that guy could not get back into office.
Mm-hmm.
So now what they're doing is they're passing all kinds of laws to keep the people from getting to the polls, to keep them from being able to have privileges and getting water. People would because the polls were so crowded and behind, the people were just out to vote, and people would give the people water because they were waiting in line a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And so now they're outlawing people giving people water. They're changing, they're gerrymandering. That means that they change the districts, makes it hard. They change the lines around the voting precincts and things. They change all of that up to make it harder for people to get to vote because the
Mm-hmm.
closest voting places, they're making sure that they close those down. So it all has to do with systemic racism. But I want to go to this. It says 52 senators allow filibuster to block Freedom to Vote Act, despite a majority of voters supporting the bill. Now, the majority of the American voters are for the bill. And yet, those people that we voted in there to represent us and to do
Mm-hmm.
what is best for us and what we want as a majority, and they are our representatives, we pay them by paying our taxes,
Right.
but then they're paid even more under the table or on the side of the table and all of that to do things that the corporations and all of the other people want them to do if it's against us as a people, the majority. So what they're doing, most of them, they're sitting there and doing what they want to do and what benefits them. And it's such a terrible, terrible thing, but it's going on. So after that man got voted in and all of this came to the forefront, now this is what we have. So in order to keep us from voting and them losing the elections, now they're changing the laws. And I'm talking about Republicans and Democrats. And so what happened here, 52 senators allow filibuster to block freedom to vote right to vote act, despite a majority of voters supporting the bill. The majority of the voters, Cleve, supported the bill,
Mm-hmm.
and they voted against it. The Republicans and the Democratic public, we wanted this passed, but they voted against us
Against it.
to keep it from passing, doing what they want to do. It. We need to, like they say. They were chanting about Hillary Clinton, saying, lock her up, lock her up. We need to vote them out because they're not doing us a bit of good.
A
They're
bit.
doing
Nope.
what they
No, they're
want to.
not.
They've been there for decades. They're rich already off of us. Then they vote and give themselves money and raises and all of that. Then,
Yep.
of course, I mentioned this. They have their budgets. They have all kinds of money coming from every direction, and they are not representing us. They're just doing. Most of them are doing what pleases them and what pleases the lobbyists and the ones that they want to please. So I'm saying that in layman's terms. I'm going to get in here. Majority of American voters, both Republicans and Democrats, support the Freedom to Vote Act and further voter rights legislation. And this is publicdemocracyamerica.org. Publicdemocracyamerica.org. Voting rights protections threatened by filibuster. So a filibuster is where you just get up there and take up time, and make sure you talk past the time to vote on the
Mm-hmm.
bill. And so both the Democrats and Republicans, I don't know, where is that coming from?
It's come from my phone. It keep going off, and then it come back on and
Oh, it
take
sounds
that
like it's
shine.
coming from
My
my, don't worry
tablet.
about it. I'm not worried about it, Reedy. I'm not worried about it. It's
Cause
okay.
it goes up and I didn't turn down. It come right back up. That's why I
Okay.
said I don't know what's wrong with today.
Okay, well, that's all right. That's all right. I wanted to take this banner, but as long as you can see my face and see our faces, we're fine and
Mm-hmm.
then. Okay. Okay, let me pull that down a little bit. Pull that down. Okay. Now, after Democrats brought the bill to the floor for debate, Senate Republicans deployed the filibuster to block it. So now we had two Democrats to vote against it. Sure did. They voted with the Republicans to quash
Like
the
that's
bill.
something. Let me get my other thing.
Senators after Democrats brought the bill to the floor for debate, Senate Republicans deployed the filibuster to block it. Senators considered a carve-out reform to force Republicans to use a talking filibuster to try to prevent a final vote, but 52 senators, every Republican senator, and two Democrats refused to carve out reform. They want to reform the filibuster. So, and anyway, so the Senate's failure to reform the filibuster allowed Republicans to prevent a final vote on the Freedom to Vote Act, which would have passed with every Democratic senator's support. If they had, if all of the Democrats had voted for it, it would have passed. It's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. A year of restrictive voting laws. Here we go. In 2021, 52 restrictive voter laws were passed. 52 after President Biden got into office. 52 restrictive voter rights were passed in various states across the country, limiting options to vote and undermining local elections officials' ability to mind elections. Georgia's law, which is the SB 202, criminalized handing out water to voters standing in long lines. Texas's SB.1 would have election officials face prosecution for regulating poll watchers' inappropriate behavior in the polling place. They don't want people to be comfortable or else semi-comfortable. If they get thirsty in the line, they don't want people. In Georgia, it's against the law to give people water.
Water.
Yes. Then here in Texas, if people see some bad stuff going on or unlawful stuff going on, people arresting the voters and all of that, listen to this. The SB.1 would have election officials face prosecution for regulating poll watchers' inappropriate behavior in the polling place. So if somebody's in there acting inappropriately, the poll watchers, people come in there watching over people, trying to see how people vote, trying to interrupt people's voting and all
Right.
of that. Now here in Texas, They'll prosecute the poll people for watching out for us to go and vote in peace. I'm telling you, and people say, like my book I wrote, it's just what's this world coming to? It's
Coming to
come
for
to
real.
an end because it said
Hmm.
evil men will wax worse and worse. It's not going to get any better. It's not going to get any better. And so what we need to do is people, okay, we can complain and complain and complain, but we need to put
Hmm.
some action behind that complaining. So we know
Amen.
what they're doing is trying to block us in different ways, but there are other ways to get there. We have time to prepare, get that transportation out there, get everything
Hmm.
in place. So when it is time to vote, the people will be able to get to the polls. The people will have water if they have to stand in a long line. It's time for preparation. So we
Amen.
know what they're doing. So prepare for it to fend all that old evil off. So, protecting Americans' freedom to vote. So they say, is this the Jim Crow 2.0? And okay, so in response to the influx of in restrictive voting legislation, Congress introduced two voter rights bills. There's the Freedom to Vote Act and John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. The John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act would make illegal voting rules that discriminate on the basis of race, language, or ethnicity and empower voters to challenge discriminatory laws. The Freedom to
Hmm.
Vote Act, which is the S. 2747, which was blocked in the Senate, would have solidified comprehensive voter protections, including a minimum of 15 days for early voting, mail in ballots, and making Election Day a national holiday. So the bill would have set up national standards for voter identification. The bill would have also established protections for election officials against intimidation and partisan interference. To further ensure election integrity, the to Vote Act would have required states to use voting systems with a verifiable paper trail and establish national standards for voter identification. The Freedom to Vote Act has broad support from the public. A new poll found that 50, listen to this, found that 54 to 64% of
Hmm.
voters support the Freedom to Vote Act and is passing with a simple majority. Another poll conducted by Data for Progress, which broke down results across party affiliation, found that both a majority of Republicans and Democrats support the bill. Now, we voted these people in there to do what we want them to do
To
on
do
our
right.
behalf, and they vote against us. They don't, I'm going back to what L. Davidson say, they don't care one iota about us. All they
Not one.
want to do
Hmm.
was get in there. Get in there. That's what they wanted to do. They're there now. So who gives a hoot about the constituents? The people that voted them in there, the people that are paying their salary. I'm not putting everybody in
Hmm.
the same basket, but I think I could put about 98% of them in there. Okay, so filibuster blocks the freedom to vote. Overcoming a filibuster, and I remember Mr. Shaw, I don't know what class he was teaching us at Turl School. And so, you know me, I'll ask questions and I'll give my opinion or whatever. So that day in class, Mr. Shaw called me a filibuster. And I'm thinking, what is a filibuster? And so,
What are you
anyway,
wasting time?
I he's thinking I'm wasting time, but you know, hey, overcoming a filibuster requires a near impossible 60 vote supermajority, effectively giving the Senate minority pocket veto power of any bill they dislike, including voting rights registration.
Uh-huh.
Despite Senate majority and overwhelming public support for the Freedom to Vote Act, it was filibustered by the Senate minority, killing the bill and the hope of establishing strong voter protections in all 50 states. That is a shame. That is a, what's
Mm.
that movie? It's a low down, dirty shame.
Dirty shame.
It's a low down, dirty shame. And there
Mm,
is
mm,
no
mm.
shame in their game. As long as they keep that money coming their way. And the basic thing is power.
Pa-
They want
There it is.
power.
Yes.
That
Yes.
power. Now they work
Mm-hmm.
for us and they treat us like we're their subjects.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
just a shame. It's a shame. And then people complain, but they won't band together to vote them out. Vote them out. That's what we
Get
need to
out of
do. It's
here.
a shame
Yes.
they've been in there for
Yes.
30 and 40 and almost 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So, though the Senate majority considered reforming the filibuster to require a vote instead of endless debate, every Senate Republican and two Democrats failed their voters by voting against filibuster reform. By failing to reform the filibuster, the Senate has weakened Congress's ability to pass needed legislation in a timely manner. Because the Senate did not consider filibuster reform to require open debate, the Senate will continue using the secret filibuster to determine the will of the majority in America by blocking majority supported legislation like the Freedom to Vote Act. So, this secret filibuster, see, they do whatever they want to, they hide nothing. They just do this old dirty, nasty stuff out in public, and then they say, oh, well, they'll get over it. They can't do anything as long as we have the vote. They might not say it out where we can hear it, but their actions speak louder. We see them. We know what they're doing and not doing. We know that they're not representing the people that voted them in to represent them. So, what is a filibuster and why reform is good? The filibuster has two forms. There's a talking filibuster, the original filibuster, filibuster, okay, known as the talking filibuster, requires senators to stand up for their principles through real debate and ensured the majority had their voices heard, or the minority, excuse me. And now what we have is a secret filibuster. The secret filibuster, which emerged later on, is a pocket veto for the Senate minority, allowing them to block legislation without ever engaging in open debate. Don't even have to talk it now.
Mm.
They can just block it silently. Originally, the filibuster existed as a mechanism for those whose conscience demanded they take a stand, literally, for their principles. So, for most of our history, a filibuster required commitment. Senators had to keep speaking individually or as a team all day and night. It required a real belief in a cause and often would end with one side giving up or compromise because we've seen them filibuster. They stand there. I remember one lady stood there and talked so long, and this has been recently, like in the what is this, the 21st century? So in the 20th century, she wore a diaper so she
Oh,
wouldn't have to go to the
have to
restroom.
stop. Uh-huh.
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 But in recent years, the rules were changed so that senators could filibuster without needing to hold the floor or even defend their position. Rather than being a tool to ensure debate and standing on principle, the filibuster became a way for popular legislation to be blocked from the shadows for reasons that had nothing to do with conviction, just because they didn't want it to happen. And the main thing It's a thing. It's a war against Republicans and Democrats, the two major parties, trying to see who has the most power. And then they persuaded two Democrats to come on their side. The Republicans did, and then they would not help to get this filibuster reform so that the people could be at least try to, have a better chance than we have now. So because of this, the filibuster has been changed by both parties in recent years. So the Democrats changed it for themselves, then the Republicans changed it for themselves, vice versa. The Senate recently considered to return to the original filibuster rules that require a senator to keep talking for the filibuster to continue. But the reform was blocked by 52 senators, two dagnabbit
Dang.
Democrats went over on the
Democrats.
Republican side.
That's under guns.
Yeah.
Under guns.
And see, I think I was saying the other day, and we agreed on this, and people know that people will run for whatever party they feel is the easiest to get into.
Yes.
But then
Yes.
they were really one of the opposite party person. But once they get in there, they can do what they want to do. So they can say they're a Democrat,
Right,
and then run on the Democratic ticket, but yet they're Republican, and vice versa. They don't care.
Yes.
I
But all this stuff
anytime-
is changing.
Yes,
all
ma'am.
this stuff is changing now because this last election showed them what we can do if we put our mind to it, work toward it. So now they scared on every corner of the Republican and Democrat ticket. They scared.
They are scared.
Yes. So they're making all these new laws to keep us from doing what we did.
Right. And so that's what I'm saying. People know what they're doing. And so, yes, we can complain, but we can be preparing too.
Yes.
And I'm thinking about my poem and my that I wrote, and that's online, just because some people are not saying anything, but they're working. You understand what I'm saying? And so that's what we have to do. We have to be preparing. Just because you hear the silence, that doesn't mean that I'm being quiet. So now we know how they feel about it and what they've done. So now we know which way to go. So start working and start preparing. Get that transportation out there. Get that water and that ice and everything we need to get people to the polls. Yeah.
Hello.
Right.
But you remember when I told you when I went to vote, they had changed everything around. They didn't even have me on no poll. None.
Oh yeah.
They had these other people in there that they voted last election, but nobody was on the poll. Nobody could vote because they didn't even have us down. See, they took a lot of people out.
I believe it. And they were doing that all over the country.
Yes.
They were doing that all over the country. And then he still didn't win. So they said, we'll fix that. We will change the laws back.
The law.
We'll get them. What is that I said the other day? If I don't get you going up, I'll get you coming down. So we know the devices that they make. We know these devices. So the thing that we have to do is to prepare. Now we know how to prepare. Do what we need to do. Do exactly what we need to do. So, Reedy, it's 1:29. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
I are here.
Okay.
I are here.
Okay.
And mine is Jennifer. Jennifer's always thinking. She's always thinking. Mama,
okay.
She have y'all that you think it's still true that women make more than men? No, men make more than women. Do you think there's still a salary gap in between? Yes. In the men and the women. There's also a salary gap between the blacks and the whites, the Mexicans, or whatever. There's a salary gap. We are not making the money that our counterparts or other racial parts are making. We are not making. and
Uh-huh.
it comes up to like $10,000 a year, $10,465 a year that we are not making, that they
Mm-hmm.
are making.
Right.
Okay, so okay, I'm going off into this now because I got upset. Hey, women of color continue to suffer the most severe gender wage gap in the United States, a reality that reflects the effects of intersection racial, ethnic, and gender biases that threaten the
Mm-hmm.
economic security of them and their families.
Mm-hmm.
As breadwinners, workers, and caregivers, women of color have been the long time yet unsung backbone of the U.S. This integral role has been front and center during the devastating COVID-19 pandemic that had wreaked economic havoc in every corner of the country and continues to have lingering effects. Not only has the United States relied on women of color as essential workers to help keep the economy running, provide much needed service and sustain families throughout the pandemic, but has also watched these women shoulder disproportionate job losses and caregiving challenges, all while they are earning just fraction of what their white and male counterparts earn. You see that? See that? Now they tell you the black women is the one that kept the country going, and it's the truth because most of them are caregivers. Most of them are caregivers, and we don't take. We got 5 children. We can't take no day off. We ain't got time. The stubborn resilience of the gender wage gap, coupled intersecting racial bias in the workplace, means that many women of color are perpetually underpaid, and these losses accumulate and grow over time. As a result, women of color are less able to build savings, withstand economic downfalls, and achieve some measure of economic stability. The U.S. Census data released in September confirmed that the harshest effect of the gender wage gap continued to fall on women of color, with many of them experiencing the largest gender pay gaps among all workers. It is strengthened long overdue in the federal government to pursue measures that strengthen equal pay protection and combat bias and promote work retention, especially among women workers, which are all critical to reducing economic inequality and securing economic stability for women of color and their families. This issue brief examines the gender wage gap experienced by women of different racial and ethnic groups, explores some of the factors driving those gaps, and recommend policy solutions that Congress and the Biden administration must implement to help narrow these gaps. Because those men are bringing in the dough. They bring in the dough, and the women are the ones that's doing the hustling, but they're not making what the men are making. The black women out there hustling, they're not making what some other people are making. I'm not gonna say color, no kind of color, but white people is making more money. That's what I've been in the work field. I've been in the healthcare system forever and a day. Since I was in 10th grade, I worked in the healthcare system, and we did not make the money that our other people made. But I ain't gonna get off into that right now. The gender wage gap is an important measure for evaluating gender equity and wages in the workplace overall. The data consistently shows that women of color experience persistent economic inequality in part because they have the largest gaps see what I'm saying? The largest gap in wage when compared to their male counterparts. This is largely driven by the undervaluation of work predominantly supplied by women, combined with other forms of bias. The wage gap number often received the most public attention is the overall ratio of women's to men's earning among full-time year-round workers. Just 83 cents for a woman's every dollar earned by men in 2020. So women make 83 cents, men make $1. Come on now, give us $1 too. Okay, but this aggregate number provides an incomplete picture because it treats women as a monolith and obscures the vastly different economic realities experienced by many women of color. This intersection of race, ethnicity, and gender has always had compound effects, and these effects most often exacerbate and widen the wage gap. Simply put, there has never been a time in this country when there has not been a wage gap that exists along intersecting gender and racial lines.
Right.
There has never been a time in this country where there has not been a wage gap that exists along intersecting gender and racial lines. When looking at women's wages across the board, across a broad racial and ethnic categories, among full-time year-round workers, Hispanic women experience the largest pay gap, having earned just 57 by white non-Hispanic men in 2020. Now you see that they making less.
Yes.
We making at least we getting 83 cents. They get 57. They get 57 cents, and the men getting a whole dollar. Black women are experiencing wide gaps, with the data of Black women alone revealing that despite consistently having some of the highest labor force participation rates, they earn just 64 cents of every dollar earned by white non-Hispanic men in 2020. This number dips slightly to 63 cents, reflecting on slightly larger wage gap when data on multiracial Black women, meaning Black women who also identify as with another racial category, are included in this analysis. The data that included multiracial Black women are referred to as a Black women alone or in combination. The gaps of Hispanic and Black women are much wider than still large gap experienced by white non-Hispanic women who earn 79 cents of every dollar earned by their white non-Hispanic counterparts in 2020. That is so sad. Native American women historically have also experienced a sizable wage gap, but an up-to-date analysis is difficult because the data 2020 are currently not available because they start taking over their own stuff. Native Americans have started taking over their own stuff. They say they're not taking over their land. You ain't took their peace pipe, and you ain't getting their money. You took their peace pipe, and you ain't getting their money. Took their buffaloes, they made a nickel out of it. They not getting nothing else. Looking at 2020 data, Native American women only 60 cents of it. Shut up, Gail. Every dollar
Hello, Gail.
Sure said hello, Gail. Earned by white non-Hispanic men. The data on Asian women. Now, them the women that makes the money. They'll open up a rice kitchen in a minute. Oh, I'm sorry, y'all. Me so sorry. I never thought I'd say it. Overall, the data of Asian women alone indicates that they earn $1.01. Told you they ain't missing no money. One day I'll open up a strip fried rice place in a minute. $1.01 over every earned dollar by white non-Hispanic men in 2020. When multiracial Asian women are included, referred to as Asian women alone or in combination, they earn 98 cents. However, these 2020 numbers hide a more complex story about the rich diversity within Asian community. First, the data are not comprehensive because the statistics do not include Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander women who tend to be alone among the women with lower earnings in the Asian American Pacific Islander, the APPI community. The relevant 2020 data, shut up, Gail, for Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders women are not currently available. They're not telling how much they're making. They got their own island. They got their own money. They're not telling y'all nothing because next thing you know, they're over there trying to get their whales. Second, when utilizing data from prior years to dive deeper into significant differences in earning ratios among women who belong to different Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders subpopulations when compared with white non-Hispanic men. For example, looking ultimately, I can get that data from 2015 to 2019. Chinese women earned $1.03 for every dollar earned by white non-Hispanic men. I'm gonna be Chinese next week. I'm telling you, I'm going to the Chinese festival. Chinese, I'm getting my nails done too. While Nepali women earn just 54 cents. The variation in the wage gap is due in part to occupation segregation, with various Asian populations concentrated in lower wage occupations like getting your nails done, getting them false eyelashes put on. They got a whole section where they put the false eyelashes on. A whole section. They put the false eyelashes on. They give you the arch your eyebrow. They got a whole section for that. And then we wonder why they get $1.03 and we ain't get but 64. I'm gonna start doing eyelashes. The variation in the wage gap is due to part of occupation segregation, with various ages of population concentrated on low wage occupation, other are high wage occupations. That's the doctor name. The Chinese doctors that come over here and take over. Which is itself driven by differences in culture, immigration patterns, and generational wealth. That's that. What's that? Rich Asian. That movie, Rich Asians. Crazy Rich Asians. That's it. Crazy Rich Asians. Yes, ma'am. Which is self-driven by differences in culture, immigration patterns, generational wealth, as well as intersecting gender, racial, and ethnic biases. Them Chinese, if you ain't making no money, they ain't got nothing for you. If you go over there, they ain't got nothing for you. You wouldn't know how to make no rice, you can't stay there. But anyway, Shirley, that's my thing. You ain't got to go. Well, you told me go over there. Okay, that's my thing. But anyway, Shirley, to Taiwanese women, they get 85 over API women overall 85 cents. The Taiwanese women, which white non-Hispanic men, get $1.21. Okay. Indian women $1.21. Malaysian women, they ain't even got no money. The Chinese women get $1.03. The Japanese women get 95 cents. The Sri Lankan women get 86. Korean 86 cents. Pakistani get 86 cents. Filipino women get 83 cents. And here we are getting 64 cents. Yeah, really. We need to go somewhere. Well, Cambodia, they get 60 cents. So we need to, Vietnamese women get 63 cents. And Thai women get 64 cents. So they got the whole breakdown that the gender pay gap amounts to more than just a few cents lost. It compounds over time, leading to significant long-term disparities of women of color. See, with the women of color, the lowest paid woman around, and they telling us this. We need to slant our eyes or something. If something ain't going to learn to do nails or something. Over the course of 40-year career, Black women lose an estimated $964,400 to wage gap. Native Americans lose $986,240. Hispanic women lose $1,163,920 to AAPI women, making lose $400,000. But likely with significant differences among subpopulations. We losing that money. We losing it. We are losing that money. Over 40-year career, we losing an estimated $964,400. Almost $1 million. Yes. Per year. Yes, ma'am. For 40 years. 40 years in a 40-year gap. We losing $964,400 in 40 years. That's what we losing. But the Hispanic women, they losing $1,163,920 over the 40-year gap. Oh, Jesus, I'm through, Shirley. I done got upset. we done lost all this money. Somebody mattress is failing them.
Okay, Clee. Okay, let me say this. This is my thought, and from lots of experience too, and I'm sure you'll agree in some way with this. We are in our own selves way.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
that was it the racial mind, our minds.
Mm-hmm.
What do they call
Mm-hmm.
that?
Jealousy.
How they instilled in us as when we were slaves, when our people were slaves, they
Uh-huh.
they they pitted them against each other.
Yes.
The
Yes.
colors of their
Mm-hmm.
skin, where they worked, if they
Mm-hmm.
worked in the field, or
Where
if
they
they
work.
worked in the
Uh-huh.
house or whatever, but
Mm-hmm.
they still
Right.
didn't treat them with the respect that they had, but they pitted them against that they needed,
Yes.
but they pitted them
Yes.
against each other, and they made it
Mm-hmm.
seem like this one was being treated better than this one
Better.
because of where they
Uh-huh.
are,
Mm-hmm.
because of the color of their skin
Our
and all
skin.
of
Right.
that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
we as a people don't support each other or one and the other like
Mm-hmm.
the other races do.
Right. Right. Right.
Then you could look at that on two different in two different perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
Our people in business tend to price themselves out of business
Out of business. Yes, ma'am.
because they want the max for what they sell their merchandise. They want the max instead of giving us a break. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I gotta make a living. I gotta make a living. I gotta make it earn.
Yep.
One thing I never did
Mm-hmm.
in my record business or whatever I do, even now in my what is it, my seasoning, I
Mm-hmm.
don't overprice it. I make it enough for me to get a reasonable profit.
Yes. Yes.
But
Yes.
then how I deal with that is I deal with the overhead. I keep my
Mm-hmm.
overhead low.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And see, then also we slave mentality, that's what it is.
Yes.
We would rather go to someone else than to go to
Yep.
our own
To our
people.
own people. Yes,
And
ma'am.
then
Oh, I
we
know
could
this.
go to
I know
our
this
own
altogether too
people,
well.
go to our own people, and they can be so rude and hateful. There is a place here in Dallas, Texas. The chicken is good. I will not say the name because I don't want to bear any blame. I won't say it publicly. I like the
Yeah.
chicken.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go there, now one time I went there and one of the people was really nice to me. But most of the times that I had to go, because I don't go there anymore, they were rude, very rude. And you know what, all that they didn't take cards. I don't it doesn't matter about the cards and everything, but these people take in all cash. And they have hundreds of cars each and every day that they're open going
Oh,
through that
yes.
place. And
Yes.
they are
Yes.
rude. So I'm not a
Yes.
customer because of the rudeness. And these are our people.
Uh-huh. Exactly. Our
And then,
people.
like
That's
I
right.
said,
That's right.
many of them charge the max. I wanted to give this contractor a chance. We were going to get, for Elder Davis, we were going to get the ramp built for the house
Right. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
onto the porch. And so I don't fault people for trying to make a living. But
Right.
the max, we had estimates from other people, and the VA would give you, this is the max we'll pay.
We'll
And
pay.
by
Yes.
golly gee, when that brother came over here, you know what he said? He's gonna charge the max. Right off the top of his head. The max.
Yep. Because he done
When I
checked
do,
into it.
yeah, he knew
He
already.
done
Yeah,
checked into
because
it.
he's a
Yes.
contractor. But I checked into it
Yes.
too. And so needless to say, he didn't get my business because of that. Also,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying? Because I knew, and
Yes.
people don't think you know sometimes, but don't come and try to
Uh-huh.
fleece me now. Don't come and
Yep.
try to fleece me.
Yep.
But that's what happens to many of our people. And then the people, the Asian women or whoever the people are that own these nail shops, people would rather, I'm telling you, the slave mentality is alive and well. They would
Yes. And
rather,
kick it.
and then they price it so that it might be 25 cents lower than your nail shop, but they'd rather
Mm-hmm.
go there
Yep.
and get their nails done.
And drive
And
across
they
town.
and we have
Pay for 25
seen
cents. Yes.
on the internet where they have been so rude and hateful to our people. And they keep going. They are a glutton for punishment. That's that slave mentality. That slave mentality.
Honey.
They would rather support somebody else than to
Than their
support their
own
own
yes.
people. And then
And
many
that's
times when we try to support our own people, they're so hateful and unkind and not courteous enough, discourteous, that we don't want to go back there anymore.
nope.
So it's just like they say, 6 in one hand and a half dozen on
Half
the
a
other.
dozen.
You
Yep.
condemned if you do, and you condemned if you don't.
But I've watched those old other cultures. They come in there, and if it's a new person come in, and they put their money together to help the person that don't have. Now I've seen it.
That's it.
I've seen
That's
it.
it.
They putting their money together to help the person that don't have. And then
Until they
when
get
they
on their
all
feet.
till they get on their feet, and then they all put their money together so we can let's do this. Let's do
Uh-huh.
this, and we can
Mm-hmm.
all benefit. And they make it. They make it. I've
Yes.
seen it. I've seen it time and time again. They make it.
And they have their own strips for their own
Yes.
shops and
Yep.
everything
Yes,
in
they
that
do.
strip, that shopping. What is it? What do you call them? A strip, where they have all their
Mini
stores.
malls.
And
The mini
yeah,
malls.
yes,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
because what he
Oh
said,
yeah.
they work together.
They
They
work together.
work
Yes, they do.
together.
Yes, they do. They all
I
got the
remember.
same name, Paul and Gina.
Well, that's all right too. They work together, and like the Hispanic people, they work together.
Yes,
They
they do.
will they
Yes,
will
they do.
live in the same house
And
together until
yes,
each one,
ma'am.
and I'm not
Yes,
saying
they do.
all of them. I'm not saying all
Yes.
of them, but we have seen where they will
We've seen it. Oh yes.
live in the houses together, and then
Mm-hmm.
one by one, as they get enough money and get themselves established to move out, they'll move out.
And bring their
They
families.
help each other.
Yes,
They
they.
help
Oh, I
each
know.
other.
Oh, yes,
But
ma'am.
like
They do.
like my auntie, I love my people. I love my people, but we should do better. We should do better.
Yeah.
We should do better. Like my auntie sent that card. Annie Mae, how can you soar like an eagle when you're working with turkeys?
Turkeys. Amen. Yes,
And so
ma'am.
the eagle is trying to take off and trying to fly, and the turkeys are grabbing at his feet and holding on to one
Holding
of
the
his
yep.
feet and legs to keep it from
Keep
soaring.
them
And
flying.
so
Yep.
that I know this happens in every ethnicity, every race of people, but we should help each other and support each other better than we do ourselves. And then we need to change our attitudes and then people are rude and hateful and then have the audacity to try to talk about people for not supporting them.
Yep. Oh yes.
But they're mean
Yes.
and hateful. And then they're
Mean and hateful.
outpricing themselves. They're
Mm-hmm.
outpricing themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yes.
sometimes in all people, they when they go into business, I'm one of those people overhead. I try to keep it to the minimum. Minimum. Very, very minimum.
Minimum.
Because
Uh-huh.
some people, when they start businesses, I know people want to have a nice big building, and they want to
Big
have this big
inventory. Yes.
storefront and
Yes.
all that. But start out slowly and build up like so many people do.
Mm-hmm.
Start out
Mm-hmm.
slowly and build up, and check your attitude,
At the
check your
door.
disposition.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Well, she
they
won't buy
develop
somebody else
those.
for you.
They developed that slogan, "The customer is always right."
Yes.
But
Yes.
that was developed for people to check their attitudes, the business people.
Yes.
It's
Uh-huh.
not that they
Uh-huh.
believe that the customer is always right, because the customer is not
It's
always right.
always right.
But treat them
Yes.
with the way, if they come in and they don't want your merchandise and they try to act up, just make sure you entreat them in a way where they will go on and act up on
Mm-hmm.
outside the door.
Yeah.
And then if they come in and want to act up and you need to get the law involved and all that, which I'm not going to go into, whatever. But anyway, we should do better at how
Yeah.
we treat each other, how we support each other.
Yeah. But see, we knew because we was raised in a business family. We know how to act, how to conduct the business because we were raised in a business family. Our father had his own business. He didn't
Right.
give
But
attitude. He didn't none of that stuff. So we know what to do. But a lot of people
mhm,
just come.
common sense, though, teach you how to treat people. You understand what I'm saying?
I
But
know
I
it, but
understand. I know you. You're right. Yeah, we know all about. How to treat people and everything. We should have.
mm-hmm.
Jennifer, Clee's hair sure is pretty, isn't it today? Hello,
Oh, thank you.
Yolanda. Uh-huh.
I
Thank
can't
you,
tell who's
everybody,
on there.
for joining us. I'm doing Facebook and I'm looking at YouTube
Okay.
also, and StreamYard. So everybody
Mm.
see our banners across there. So thank you so much for joining us today. Reading topic, your topic
My
was
topic.
very was super, super, super topic, and I always enjoy.
Califragilisticexpialidocious.
Huh?
Thank you. I said
Yes,
califragilisticexpialidocious.
that's it. That's it.
That's
And
yeah.
so
My daughter
these,
gave me that one.
huh?
My daughter gave me that one. Jennifer called me with that question this morning. So
Good. But did you notice we were both on the racism thing
on the
again?
yes we was. Yes we were there.
Both
Yes
on
we
the
were.
thing. So Thursday we'll gotta give us something else to talk about. But I do want to mention and ask you to continue to pray for the Malvern family. Pray for the Malvern
Yes.
family. And
As well
so
as the Walkers because she's
yeah, continue to pray for Tanya, uh the Walker family, and continue to pray for them too. But we know that Skip is already laid to rest, but
uh-huh.
Billy has not been yet.
Right,
So we ask
right.
you to continue to pray for them, and those who are sick and shut in. Pray for them also. So, Reedy, I
Amen.
love you. And so, do you
I
have
love
anything
you.
else you want to say?
No, I'm good. Thank you so much.
Okay, okay. So we won't what they say belabor the time. Well, it's 157
Yeah,
anyway.
it's time. Yes, yes.
Okay,
We
158.
handle time
So
good today. Yes.
yes, everybody, thank you so much. And so let us reiterate on this thing. When they think that they have you one way, there's always a way to escape that plan that they have
Mm-hmm.
against you.
Mm-hmm.
So, what we need to do as citizens of this United States of America is to be prepared for the next election. Be
Mm-hmm.
prepared because they're doing
Yeah.
everything they can to keep us from voting.
To
So,
keep
when
her.
they put
That's
a
it.
stumbling block in front of you, there you have two sides where you can go around that stumbling block. Sometimes you may have to
Mm-hmm.
back up and go a different direction. Whatever we have to do to get to the polls and have our votes count and defeat what we're not for, we should be planning now, making preparations now, because
We shall overcome.
they will never ever stop
They
trying
won't
to block
know.
us. They
No.
don't want us to have any power, and that power has been displayed. It was displayed with President Obama. He won 2 terms.
Mm-hmm.
It was displayed when President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris got in there.
Mm-hmm.
Overwhelming votes.
Yes.
And so
Historical.
now they are changing the
That's
laws to
it.
make it illegal
Mm-hmm.
for us to vote. That's exactly what they're doing. Just going back to those days, back that Jim Crow stuff.
Jim Crow. Yep.
And if you do one thing to get to do what you need to do to vote, then they'll come back next time and try to outlaw that too.
Chacha. Yes,
So
they
what we
sure do.
have is now. What we have is now. Well, that's 2 o'clock. We only have now. So do what we need to do now to get accomplished what we need to have for the future. Love you,
Right.
Reedy. Love you,
Love
everybody. Love
you.
you, Jennifer.
Thanks, everybody.
Yolanda, everybody's joined us today. We love you. And we pray and trust that God will continually bless and keep you. Enjoy the
Amen.
remainder of your day.
Okay, bye-bye.
Reedy, I
Love
love
you.
you, sister.
Love you. Okay, bye,
Okay.
everybody.